step, something in my jeans. FOI, you know that's the team, huh?
Peace. This is your brother Aidan X, and welcome to the processing class. Peace. This is brother Aidan X, and welcome to the processing class. Today I got a very, very special guest. I got Sister Luna AnNura. Did I say your name right?
Yes, that's the brand name. My actual name is AnNura.
Yes, Sister AnNura Muhammad. And I just want to say salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to go straight into it. How did you get the teachings? Did you get the teachings through being born, in the teachings, or did you get the teachings some other way?
So I got the surface level of the teachings through my father. He joined the Nation of Islam before I was born. So he was a part of the nation, but my mother was not. And it wasn't until I was around 16 years old where I actually started, studying the teachings of the Most High Muhammad myself, and starting to understand things on my own, and actually, attending mosque meetings on my own. So I'd say I've always been around it. I've always been affiliated with it. I just didn't really understand things until I was 16 when I got a little interested and decided to join it.
Yes, ma'am. And what made you want to study the teachings? Because you said 16.
Well, when I was around 16, I actually joined when I was 18, but when I was around 16, that's when I was kind of on this journey to finding myself, wearing my hair natural, wearing dashikis, just curious and wanting to learn more. But actually, like I said, I grew up with the teachings, I grew up with the nation, but at a certain point, my father stopped making us go to the mosque and whatnot. And at that point, I kind of, forgot about the nation. Not really forgot, but it wasn't something prominent on my mind. And it wasn't until I actually saw Brother Ben X on social media around 2016, 2017 that, triggered something to me. It was like, oh, wow, I remember this Nation of Islam stuff. This is pretty cool. And then I remember, just watching his stuff, studying his stuff, and then realizing or just thinking that, one day I'd like to, do what he does. But for the women, I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought it would be cool to see a woman do something the way that he does it, with the content of the minister. But what if it's, content of the minister speaking on the women, or just the women student ministers speaking and whatnot. And then from there, I can just say that Allah turned on some switch in me. He turned on the light, and that kind of, that really got me to want to, study other books. I read Message to the Black Man. I read a book called Naturally Beautiful by Minister Aidan Muhammad, which is honestly the book that changed my life as a woman, because it really made me understand who I was, who I belonged to, my role, and what comes with being the second self of God, being a woman, being feminine. And then from there, again, I just wanted to learn. There was just so much information. So I was just studying and studying and studying. And my main reason for wanting to join, though, well, I have quite a few reasons, but I know the main reason was I wanted to become a better version of myself. I wanted to be my best self for my future children, for my family, and really to get the 7 training units of the MGT and GCC, because it was all stuff that I never really got growing up. And so, yeah, that's my go-to, is wanting to be a better person. But, of course, all these other things happened, but that was my initial, the initial reason for me wanting to join.
Yes, ma'am. And I just want to go into this because this is very interesting. How was it growing up with having only one parent in the Nation of Islam? Because most people watching this, they think, when you're in a nation, your whole family, your wife, your husband got to be into it. So how was it growing up as having one parent being registered?
I'd say it was pretty cool. I didn't think anything of it. It was just my reality, I guess. I knew that both the realities of my two parents, they lived in such opposites of each other. Like it was kind of crazy to reflect on, but at the time it was just it was my reality. But I think that it gave me, or it provided me an overview of, both worlds, what it's like to grow up in the nation and what it's like to, just come into the nation, and what it's like to be in the world coming into the nation. Because in a sense, I was in the world before joining the nation, because, I wasn't really praying. I wasn't really doing anything. I wasn't going to the mosque. I wasn't studying or anything. But yeah, for me, I think it gives me a perspective. Like I know what it's like to grow up in the world, have fun, do stuff all the time, but I also know what prayer looks like, the discipline. Through the FOI of my father, I knew what the Honorable Minister Farrakhan was. I knew the nation was, a force to be reckoned with. I knew it was just all good things. But I also knew that being in the world was fun. So me kind of choosing the nation over, being in the world was kind of, honestly, it was like Allah. That's all I can say. But yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yes, ma'am, it did. Me personally, I didn't grow up in the Nation of Islam, but my son will. But people watching, they see people, and they may have a perspective of people born in a nation may have to grow up, very strict, very disciplined. Was your father very strict and disciplined growing you up, being registered?
I mean, you said getting registered or just like my whole life?
Yeah, like your whole life, him being registered, did it make him strict and very disciplined on you growing up?
I mean, yeah, he had expectations, of course, of us. The older we got, responsibilities around the house. And, of course, we get disciplined if we do not do these responsibilities. But as far as, like some crazy off the wall stuff, I don't think so. Of course, as an adult now, looking back on my childhood years, I realized that, you start to realize that your parents are not perfect, and that, they're striving too. And my father was striving. He was not a perfect person, but he was the perfect person for me and my outcome in life, if that makes sense. So everything is divine, everything happens for a reason. But, his discipline and his structure, the rehabilitation, whatever he went through in the FOI class, affected me and my relatives, because, he didn't allow certain things for us to do. But again, we did have freedom though, because again, we had our mother who was, in the world, and then we had our father, and he never really forced us to do things, which I'm very grateful for. As I mentioned earlier, after a certain age, he stopped making us go to the mosque, because before that, we were young, he made us go. But at a certain age, it was like a decision for us. And, being young, I didn't want to go. But it wasn't until I actually, came across the teachings and got interested in myself that I actually was put on a journey to joining. It wasn't something forced down my throat. It was something that I found on my own, or really that Allah led me to. But yeah, I believe that the circumstances of my youth, the way that my father was, I'm actually grateful for it now, because he is the reason why I am very strong-willed, why I'm consistent, why I am bold in everything that it is that I say, because of, watching him, at FOI do what it is that he do. So yeah.
Yes, ma'am. What does fun look like to you? Because, we hear about the teachings, we hear, y'all don't celebrate, we don't celebrate Christmas, Easter, Halloween. So what does fun look like to you, and why were you still attracted to the teachings, although you have to, they don't celebrate Halloween, Christmas, and Easter, what considers to most people, fun, fun and, cheerful. So how did you feel about, leaving that world and to coming into the teachings?
Well, for me, everything is fun. Just being alive is fun. Spending time with my family, going to watch movies, drawing, painting, spending an entire hour eating ice cream if that's what I want to do, even though it's not really healthy. But again, for me, everything is fun. Life is fun. And what was the second question? Coming from that world, leaving the holidays and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think really I just got to a point where it wasn't attractive anymore. And really growing up, my mother, she wasn't very religious. So we didn't really participate in these holidays anyways, unless we went over our grandmother's house, for Christmas. Of course, our grandmother would get us gifts because they all felt bad for us because we was the Muslim children. We didn't get any gifts. So my grandmother, my aunt would give us gifts. So we didn't miss out on anything. And actually my father is married to a Christian, so she still celebrates Christmas. And so we get gifts every year. I still get gifts. But it's just not attractive anymore. And really just because, we don't celebrate Halloween does not mean that we can't, enjoy the fall season, like go do fall things, going to drink apple cider, dressing up, not necessarily on Halloween, whatever. But just because we can't participate in these quote unquote holidays that are fake anyways, if you really think about it, they're literally just days that people came up with and decided that this was going to happen on that day, does not mean that we don't have fun. We have fun all the time. Just being amongst believers is fun to me. Seeing people happy makes me happy, and that is fun to me. So yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I'm glad you brought that up because most people, they think in a nation, you got to be mean mugging around your family that celebrate Christmas. You got to be cussing them out with the teachings. So it's really good that you brought up, you can still, have fun with your family on these days without celebrating it, But my next question.
Can I also ask one real quick? And not even, well, was I ever judgy? I don't think that I was ever judgmental of my family once I joined the nation about the holidays and whatnot. Because I love spending time with my family. I love the holidays really because it's kind of the only time we get to come together. But the older I get, the more understanding of the teachings I am comprehending. It's also like an opportunity to bring these teachings when you are a registered member of the Nation of Islam, or when not even just a registered member of the Nation of Islam, when you are a changed person, just come as you are, come as that changed person, and people will, they'll see that in you. Like, for example, for my family's events as of lately, I like to bring a pot of bean soup because that's something no one has ever really done, because my dad wasn't making no bean soup because I don't know why, he just never did for the family, for our events. So I just took it upon myself to do that. And now I'm feeding my family bean soup. They love it and they're learning about the Navy bean. And so it's kind of like a teaching moment without me really directly teaching them anything. It's just, introducing them to the bean. So it's you just got to be creative to me when it comes to getting people to understand, or you just be yourself, your new self.
Yes, ma'am. What I was gonna say was this is a very interesting interview because most people look upon Muslim women as, being, not really having rights within their quote unquote religion. So seeing you create content, you speak out. Earlier you were speaking about women student ministers. So can you just speak about what, in your opinion, in your experience, is the role of the women, specifically the Black women in the Nation of Islam? Is she oppressed? Does she got to be behind the man? Does she got to take 10 paces behind the man? Can you just go into that?
Yes, sir. So the role of the women in the Nation of Islam is honestly, wherever Allah guides us, or wherever we are, whatever we are moved to do. We are in security, we are in the ministry, we are laborers, we do everything on top of having little babies right on our shoulders. So hey, that's really what I try to prove though, because I know that a lot of people think that, women in Islam are oppressed. And specifically the Nation of Islam too. And so me literally just being myself and just striving to document that and just show that this is what this is. Like, you can't even argue with actual facts. You can't argue with what is literally going on. So I just try to show that with everything that I do. And I also have some quotes. And while I'm finding it, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was gonna reword it anyways. What is because certainly, like, because I fished in, but she was the girlfriend at the time, a wife, into the nation, and she thought, you watch 90 Day Fiance, you see the Muslims on there, and it's kind of looked upon as very controlling, as the men controlling the women. Having the woman very docile. She doesn't have a voice. She's not able to be a minister. She's not able to do the same thing a man does, quote unquote. So can you just go into the Nation of Islam, teach you to take the back step as a woman? The Nation of Islam teach you that women are supposed to be oppressed in the name of Allah. What has the Nation of Islam taught you about women, specifically the topic of women, and what is that role for women in Nation of Islam? Can they be ministers? I know you already spoke on that, but can they do the same jobs that men can do? Can they're allowed to study in the mosque, because many countries, that's not a thing. Can you just go into that role and subject of the Black women specifically in the Nation of Islam?
We can do it all. Like, to answer that question, honestly, that's really all I can say. But I also want to add that Most High Elijah Muhammad teaches that a nation can rise no higher than its woman. And what that means is that people literally come from women specifically. We are the first nurses, the first teachers, the first doctors. When people need things, not even just children, we go to women. And if that woman doesn't know how to be a nurse, how to be a doctor, how to be a teacher, how to be a scientist, food scientist, then the nation will fall. If we look at America, if we look at the state of Black people in America right now, we are where we are now because of the disrespect, the mistreatment, the lack of self-love in women. And it's not our fault. This is all by design. And that's the beauty of the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam sheds light on the fact that we are, as speaking on women, the foundation. We are the building blocks for a nation. And another quote I want to share by the Most High Elijah Muhammad is that by nature, the woman has a big job. She's the one who increases the nation. And so when I read that I took that as, okay, if a nation can rise no higher than its woman, and by nature the woman has a big job, she is the one who increases the nation, then that means that, there's a lot that we got to do. 75% of the work is with the woman. So teaches the Most High Elijah Muhammad. And so that really just makes me reflect on the 7 training units as well. Because, first coming in, when you don't know what this is, you may think is, why does the woman need to learn how to cook? Why do I need to learn how to sew? Why do I need to learn how to clean? I know how to do all that stuff. But when we go through these studies, you realize that you really don't know a lot. And so it just forces you to submit to an information or body of knowledge that is not only going to change you, but change the condition of your entire family in your life. Because honestly, a nation can rise no higher than its woman. So when you uplift that woman, when you can correct, reform that woman, because if we admit, we all could use some self development, self-analyzing, speaking to women, because we know we all have stuff that we've been through that's messing us up in our mind. And we know that we need something or someone to help us. And I believe that the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad and the 7 training units of the MGT and GCC is that missing piece, to correcting us and really placing us on pedestal that we were put on this earth to be. We are gods. It takes a God to make a God.
Yes, ma'am. Can you just go into how did you feel about covering your hair?
I don't really remember having any issues with that. I really have to think about it because that was like 5 years ago for me. Yeah, I don't remember having any issues. I just know that, yeah, I don't know. I cannot remember having any issues. It's just, hey, I was just like, okay, I saw that they're doing it. I don't remember being told necessarily that I should do that. I just know that, once I started going to the mosque, I started wearing my scarf a lot more. And then the more I started learning, I was like, okay, I think I want to start wearing my scarf a little more because, this is valuable. I don't know, y'all don't deserve to see it anyway. I don't even know half y'all. So I think it was just, coming to the mosque, learning more that made me want to start covering up my hair. I believe. I'm sorry, that was like 5 years ago.
Nah. Let me ask this then, because we live in a world and hair is very important to a lot of women. Getting the lace fronts, getting the weaves, the extension, the clip-ons, what's probably hard, I know just speaking to a lot of women, what's hard about Islam for them is just the idea of covering their hair. I mean, I know it's a choice. So what made you want to take that? What made you comfortable with that choice of covering your hair, especially in a world where, being naked is considered freedom?
I think the examples in of the women in the Nation of Islam, because I'm a visual person. I like to see things being done or just like an example of someone. Like, oh, I'd like to take on that trait, that characteristics. That is inspiring. So I think being in the environment, that's really what made me comfortable wearing it because I seen someone else comfortable with wearing this scarf or headpiece. So I was just like, okay, if they can do it, then I can do it. And of course, it's not something extremely easy. Of course, you're going to be anxious and it's going to be uncomfortable at first because you're doing something that is completely opposite of what this world wants us to do or wants us to look like. But, day by day, you get a lot more comfortable with it. And actually, I was watching a clip this morning of the minister speaking about, women making a sacrifice to cover, because it is a sacrifice that we make to cover up our hair, to cover up our bodies. But in making that sacrifice, it is building our character. Something is building in us because, when we can face rejection, like proudly, because like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm doing. I don't care what no one says. That builds something in you. It makes you confident, makes you more comfortable and proud of what it is that you're doing. So yeah, I think that's how I'd answer that question.
Yes, ma'am. In your opinion, and from studying the teachings, why do you think, what is the value of covering your hair and just covering your body in general?
It's a form of protection. To say just one thing, because what does an unwrapped piece of candy do when you drop it on the ground? It attracts, insects. Now, when it's covered, it doesn't necessarily attract anything because, they can't see it. They don't know what that is. Another example I like to use or think of when it comes to, covering up. Why do we have cell phone cases on our phones? Why do we spend hundreds of dollars on these cases, screen protectors and whatnot? Why do we have home insurance? Why do we have insurance on our cars? Why do we get protection for these? Why do we have protection on our iPads, these laptops, why do we lock our doors? It's because we value what is inside of our homes. We value our phones. We value, our vehicles, whatever it is that we got insurance for. So why not protect and cover the most valuable asset that I was blessed with, and that's my body, that's my adornments. So that's how I view, the whole covering up thing. It took me a while to get there. Of course, stuff doesn't happen overnight, but the more obedient I was, the more I just was patient with learning, with the process. I began to understand the beauty of covering up and, really understanding the whole value piece. Because I think I remember I read a quote somewhere and it was talking about the cell phone case and that. I was like, dang, that's beautiful. But yeah, we protect what we value. And for some, whatever reason, we don't really connect that to ourselves. We feel as if, I should be able to dress however I want and get, and be protected, which is absolutely true. Women deserve protection no matter what they're wearing. We deserve to be respected no matter what we're wearing. But of course, again, the clothes act as a form of protection. So, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. How did you deal with that? Because obviously you're a young woman, and for young women watching this, they usually connect, covering themselves with dressing old, dressing like grandmama and them. So how did you, can you still be beautiful and be covered up, or do you have to dress like grandmama and them? You know what I'm saying? How do you still stay young and covered and modest at the same time?
Yes, sir. It's funny that you say that because that's literally what the minister said in the clip that I watched this morning. He was like, your family will start judging you when you start, covering up, because he was talking about like a skirt being all the way down to your ankles. He was like, your grandmother dressed like that. Why are you dressing like that? But honestly, to answer your question, no, you do not have to be quote unquote looking like an old lady. You just find your style. And I can say for me, I'm still finding my style. Again, it's been 5 years. It has been one heck of a journey because I go back and forth with being comfortable with my hoodies and my sweats because that's something I always wore because that's what I was around growing up. I didn't even think anything of it until a few years ago. But, my oversized hoodies was technically covering up and my big sweats is technically covering up. So just because we have this maybe idea that covering up has to be ugly, we really just have to, go explore and go look out. And if you're watching this, I highly recommend you follow this sister named Anaya on social media, XX Anaya, HYAN, something like that, XXX.
Yeah.
She's really good at the whole modest fashion stuff. She actually inspires me a lot with my outfits and what it is that I wear because again, I have been on this journey for so long because I really want to be comfortable, but at the same time, I want to be cute, but you just got to find your style. Be patient with yourself, shop around. You don't even have to buy expensive stuff. You can go to Goodwill, literally a thrift store, and just get some stuff that, that's a little loose, but at the same time would be cute on you. If you think it's cute, just buy it, put it together, and just get creative. I think it's fun to get creative with, dressing modestly because you realize that you do have more style than you may think you do. You just have to open up your mind, be optimistic about, putting stuff together.
Yes, ma'am. What did the teachings in the Nation of Islam do to your self-esteem? Do you think it helped your self-esteem?
Yeah. I cannot even pinpoint one thing about the teachings that has helped my self-esteem, but everything about it. I am a completely different person than I was before I joined the Nation of Islam. I mean, of course, I was only like 17 years old. So of course, 17 and 22, two different ages. But I am a better person because of these last 5 years of being in the Nation of Islam, because I dedicated that time to going into myself, self-reflecting, self-analyzing, correcting things in myself that was pinpointed out through the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad that I didn't even know was there. And then through listening to the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, pinpointing stuff for myself, being patient with myself and working on that, being prayerful, it's helping me to become the best me that I could possibly be. And that was honestly my initial prayer and my initial goal and objective of joining the Nation of Islam. And one thing I could say about the nation and really the teachings and me just striving to apply these teachings, it allowed for me to have a personal relationship with God, which was something I can say I don't remember ever having. If I did, I was probably a baby when I was young and didn't know anything about anything, but to have that relationship with Allah or God. But being in the nation really gave me a personal relationship, as in, because I have this relationship with God, I feel like there's like absolutely nothing that I cannot do. I am becoming more fearless every single day. I used to have really bad anxiety. I used to be anxious about everything, but now that I know that, I've gone through things, I've tried myself, the things that I feared, the things that made me anxious, I just went ahead and pushed myself to do it because I knew that I needed to get rid of that. I needed to at least learn how to manage it because I knew that that was going to be a hindrance for me becoming my best self. And then again, having the God, knowing that the God is there no matter what is going on in my life, made me more confident, made me more bold, made me more, I believe just made me a pure vessel. But I am not pure. I am still, enduring the purification process. But the more I cleanse myself of my fears, my doubts, my lack of self-love, my lack of self-esteem, the more I clear myself of that, the better I am to be a vessel for, truth, for whatever it is Allah God wants me to use, want me to do with my time on this planet. So, yeah, the nation, man, it's really changing my life. And I'm just grateful to have these teachings at the age that I have them, because I know that this is only the beginning. And I have so much to learn, so much to go through. And I just know that I'll get through it because, again, I have that personal relationship with Allah, God. And yeah, I'm just grateful.
Yes, ma'am. And you just went a little bit in depth of who you used to be before you registered, or how you used to act. Can you go more in depth of how you were and who you were before you registered? Because I just finished talking to Brother Winfrey X. He was talking about his prison experience and all of that. Can you go in depth of who you were before you registered into teachings?
Yes, sir. I wasn't anybody crazy, but I did just used to do whatever it is that I really wanted to do. Have fun with my friends. I used to curse a lot, which is kind of crazy because I remember just flipping a switch in my mind and deciding I was never going to do that again, and just not do that, and then I just did it. What else did I used to do? Make me reflect. Really, I just used to have fun, but I still have the same definitions of fun. It's just that there aren't negative consequences for the fun that I'm doing now than the fun that I was doing before. But yeah, life was just, I was a teenager. I was doing what I wanted to do. I was having fun with my friends. I was experiencing life, exploring, growing up, being in school. But yeah, I wasn't really doing anything like too crazy again. But yeah, my life before joining the nation was just being a teenager, aimlessly going through the world, existing, but having fun while doing it because that's what I do. So yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yes, ma'am. And just going back into the discipline part, a lot of people watching this and a lot of people just in general, when they see the Nation of Islam, they kind of see, they're kind of scared. Some people are kind of scared by the discipline. And I just want to ask you, how did you feel about coming into this discipline? Because I hear some people say, I would join the nation, but they look perfect, and I'm afraid I'm not perfect enough to be in the Nation of Islam, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. So can you just go into that discipline? And is people in the nation, are we striving, or is everyone, you got to be perfect to be in the Nation of Islam?
To answer the question, no, you do not have to be perfect. And that's actually one of my downfalls when I joined the Nation of Islam, because I was expecting perfection. I was expecting people to be on one meal a day. I was expecting everybody to make all their prayers a day, because the few months before I, joined the Nation of Islam, become a registered member of the Nation of Islam, I should say, I was like on it. My brain, I was getting up at 5 a.m. I was meditating, I was reading. I was only eating one meal a day, and I was sticking with that. It was just like, life was just like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I was really hard on myself, which is why I was able to do all that type of stuff. But it wasn't until I got to the mosque, attended meetings, Friday night stuff, and like heard the other believers just mention the fact that they were striving and stuff, and that, they still struggle with doing certain things. That's when I was just like, oh, okay. We are not perfect, but we're striving to be perfect. We have this body of knowledge that is perfect, and we're all just striving to, apply this body of knowledge to our lives. And so actually me, realizing that, and then also, being a young adult and then making decisions that I thought was supposed to be made because I was a nation and whatever, that actually led me to like a depressive period of months that following year of me joining the nation, because I had all these expectations that were not met because I just did not know. So that's one of the reasons why I strive so hard to just share everything and just show that it's a lifestyle and that we are all striving and absolutely none of us are perfect. I know how detrimental that was to me when I, started going to the mosque after being registered. I'm sorry. It's trying to
Ramadan, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I had this idea that, the MGT, even though I grew up with the nation, I pretty much always had this idea that, the MGT were perfect because they look like they were God's gifts to earth. But it wasn't until I started having conversations with people, started meeting people, and realizing that, oh my goodness, you are a human being too. You have been through things. You have been through some I don't even know how you're alive. I don't even know how you're here right now kind of stories. But it wasn't until the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad, it wasn't until they joined the Nation of Islam that they, joined this process. And you never would have guessed that they've been through the things that they've been through. So, yeah, we're not perfect. Everybody has a story in the nation. A lot of people may not talk about it, but we all have a story. We all have lives that we lived before joining the nation, but that doesn't matter now because it's about what we're doing now compared to what we did before. But yeah, we're not perfect. That's all.
Yes. Why not Christianity? Or why not, the Pan-African movement or African spirituality, or you see the Hebrew Israelites out there? And this is not to knock them, but why the Nation of Islam? Why were you attracted to that over these other things?
I think it's because it was the action piece. Like I never seen, and that's really, the whole, that ties back into Brother Ben X, because I never seen the teachings, of course I grew up with teachings and whatnot, but I never seen people apply it. Like he was trying to build a business with the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad. And I'm like, oh, wow, I never seen that before. And I think it was the practical application piece is what, attracted me. Like actually seeing someone trying to do a meal a day, seeing someone try to, seeing someone try to reflect the Amos Louis Farrakhan. I mean, of course, now that I'm older and I'm sitting in it, I saw my father striving to do that. But you know, some about seeing that example online really, you know, got me excited and was like, oh man, I want to do that. I want to be able to do the things that they are doing, but in my own way, of course. So yeah, seeing someone actually apply it is what drew me in. And then again, I didn't really have, you know, Christianity being forced on me because I wasn't going to church. My mother was not really, she wasn't Christian. So really all I had was, you know, Islam in the nation. But again, seeing someone apply the teachings is what really drew me in.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Did the Nation of Islam teach you to hate white people?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I said, did the Nation of Islam teach you to hate white people?
No, it did not. If anything, it taught me the nature and how they came to be. So I cannot be mad at something that we literally created. And it made me more understanding because honestly, if I'm being honest, growing up, you know, I really thought that white people were the devil, they were evil, because, you know, being a hearing, you know, certain things and whatnot, people's interpretations of the teachings, not necessarily the actual root of the teachings, whatnot. But, you know, growing up thinking that, and it wasn't until I actually made a friend, and she was actually one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, where I realized like, okay, maybe I need to change my mind about this, because not all of them are demons and they just spew hatred from their mouths. Some of them are kind, just like some Black people are kind, and some of them are straight demons. I mean, evil is in all of us, but you know, it's just really, it boils down to nature and understanding nature and all that. But no, I don't hate white people. I actually got a DM one day and someone was like, I'm not understanding why you did this design that was similar to this white person's design. And I'm just like, that does not matter to me. It's art. I'm inspired by art. I'm inspired by everything pretty much. Like I love movies, and you know the main people who make movies are white people, and you know the main people who make pretty much everything we are literally indulging in nowadays are white people. So yeah.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You answered that perfectly. Now, when you look up the Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan on just Google, it says he's a Black supremacist, anti-white conspiracy theorist. Did the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan, did it teach you to be a Black supremacist, an anti-white conspiracist?
Let's look up Black supremacy. That means someone who thinks that they are superior, correct?
Be honest with you, I never heard that.
It sounds a little familiar. Groups associated with what? We're just gonna say no. We just learn the truth. And of course, you know, when the truth is heard, it's gonna be interpreted this way or that way. But at the end of the day, it's the truth. And you can label it how you want to. And one thing they're gonna do about the minister, they'll call him whatever, but they'll never call him liar. Same with the most unholy comment. So I don't know. They throw words around to confuse us that are not true necessarily, but really, you just gotta listen to the man. It's people are gonna spew hate. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. But that's why it's important for us to, you know, get our own understanding of things. Stop listening to what other people say and create our own opinions, which is something that we have to learn to do because it's not, unfortunately, in our nature to do that anymore. We were taught how to think, how to learn. We are just taught to just, hey, if someone says something, we're supposed to take it as true. Specifically white people, when they say something, we were taught to just take it as the truth. But we have to go do our own research on things. That's all I'm gonna say about that, because I don't know well, I know what the word is, but no.
Yes, ma'am. This is my last question. I don't want to hold you up. I know you're busy. Um, what's your advice to people who are maybe lost right now, maybe suffering through depression, anxiety, or may just be finding themselves, and they may even are thinking about registering into the nation, or even just thinking about studying it? What would be your advice to young men or young women specifically watching this?
Mm, just keep striving. Be patient with yourself. Um, pray however you are able to pray. Ask God for guidance. Ask God to keep you on the right path. And praying doesn't have to just be on a rug. You can literally just think in your mind, talk to your, or just talk out loud. Hey God, please help me stay on the right path. And yeah, take it day by day. Learn, study as much as you can. Watch a lecture a day. I am really learning that you learn so much just by watching a lecture, especially from Ramadan, because I've been striving not to be on social media so much. And I'm actually realizing how much that clouds my mind and distracts me, just scrolling mindlessly on social media, because it's not allowing me to, sit and watch a YouTube video that literally is giving so much information that I can, that can really, uplift me, change my mind about things. So yeah, just study, be patient, be realistic with yourself, spend time in nature. If you have family and friends that you love and care for, spend time with them. And everything happens for a reason. Everything's divine, and everything will happen in God's timing. It may not happen in your timing, but it'll happen in His timing. So yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I just want to say I'm humbled and honored to have spoke with you, and thank you for supporting your little brother on this small platform I'm trying to build up. I really appreciate it, and continue your work. And is there anything you want to plug before we exit onto this podcast?
Before that, I wanted to add, because I forgot to add it, speak life into your life, or speak positivity into your life, and then your life will eventually reflect that. Our brains, our thoughts are extremely powerful. Coming from someone who thought themselves into a depressive state and thought themselves out of it, because man, our minds are powerful. So feed on truth, feed on positivity, no matter how negative, or even if you are at a point where your negative thoughts are just too overbearing, please reach out to someone who you know can speak life into you and that you listen to, because sometimes you need that outside source. But focus on the positive, focus on the good. That's really what helped me get out of every single situation. Striving to find the lesson in everything. But to answer the second question, what do I have to plug? I don't know. I kind of do a lot. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on YouTube at AnNura on all social media platforms, TikTok too. I currently am accepting commissions for graphic design or graphic portraits until I'm done. After that, I'm gonna, move into like some social media marketing stuff, helping people create content online. And yeah, that's pretty much it for now, until I find something else to do.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I just want to say thank you again. I'm humbled, and I hope we cross paths, and I definitely hope to build with you again, if it be the will of Allah. Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak. Enjoy the rest of your day, sister.
Yes, sir. Ramadan Kareem. Assalamu alaikum.